Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So today, thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to be talking about the Wheel of Self Sabotage and more specifically, how to get off of it. I think we can all relate to what this means. Um, and so we're going to create some understanding, some awareness about what's going on here, and specifically give you some pointers on how to get off of it. Because it can it's kind of like a vortex. That energy pulls you in. And what do we need to do about that? But first and foremost, I want to invite you to just kind of join me here. I know everybody's busy and all that stuff. And just take a moment, settle in right here, feel your feet on the ground, notice your breath. Maybe just take a deep breath in and out. And just kind of settle in right here. Might be the end of the day for you. You may be watching this on a recording and it's who knows what time, whatever time it is. Just give yourself the gift of this space here. So today, again, we're going to be talking about getting off the wheel of self-sabotage. I want to picture this hamster wheel where it's like going. It's really hard to get off of that thing. So first, we're going to talk about self-sabotage, what it is, and then really kind of start to dissect what it looks like when you're actually on this wheel. What does it look like for you? Not just for me, but for you. How to interrupt it and get off of it. I'm picturing like, putting something in that wheel, making it stop even just for a hot second. Just that hot second creates a little space, allows you to get off, or at least slow it down a little bit. I have structured this so that there will be just a couple minutes of journaling in here because with all of my teaching, I want to invite you to take it from not just the intellectual understanding, but what it means for you and how you can make it more tangible, make it more actionable for you. So I invite you to kind of grab a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, whatever it is that you want to write with. That'll be fantastic. And also, like, a huge caveat here is that what we're going to be talking through today.
Oh, right down there. Yeah.
Hi. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. So what we're going to be talking through today is that, and in all of my teachings, basically, there is a huge difference between the insight and the transformation. Huge. And I think that the transformational industry does us a disservice by saying, oh, just do this one little thing, and then everything will be magically fixed. And guess what? That sets everybody up for disappointment. So we can understand something in our heads and then be very confused when at the end of the day, we find ourselves pouring a glass of wine. Get very frustrated with that. It's like, and that's what I mean by there's an understanding in our head, and it takes a while to actually learn it by heart. And that's what I mean by all the little steps that it takes between having the insight, understanding it in our head, and actually living it day to day. And that's why when I work with my clients, I work with them for a minimum of 12 weeks. And oftentimes it's longer than that, not just because not necessarily that we're always working on drinking, but all the other things that come up in life. So let me back up. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Caroline Holke, and I am a coach. I work with type A high-performing women who want to change their relationship with drinking. They really want a logical approach as well. Those are the clients that typically come to me, those are not that I work with them exclusively, but those are typically the people that find their way to me. I have been doing this for a number of years, and I really love this work. And I will say that, my experience is I'm an admin in the Facebook group, and I really came to this work because of my own journey, of course. No shocker there. Um, I like to say that my last hangover was in August of 2016. And at that point, I decided that I was ready to do something. I was ready to kind of start getting myself off this wheel of self-sabotage. And it took a little while for sure before that really stuck. But I also know today that, when I look back at the work that I've done, like, and who I have become because of that work, it's night and day. And and I know that when you're in the thick of it, it feels very hard to imagine that you can be thankful for it, but just putting one step in front of the other. And at some point, you're going to look back and say, that's pretty cool that I did the work, that I did the stuff. So please pop in the chat if you have any questions, anything else that comes up, as we're going along. That would be fantastic. So I want to start with any questions first and foremost about like how we're going to play this out and anything. Okay. So I want to start with what is self-sabotage? And my definitions of self-sabotage is where we consciously or even unconsciously get in our own way of achieving a goal. Now, most people in this group are going to be talking about how we self-sabotage by drinking. I remember that I used to joke that, well, not just joke, but I remember that feeling of waking up at 3 a.m. and saying, I'm not doing that again. I can't believe I did that last night. And then I would find myself pouring the drink later on in the day. At 5 o'clock hit, I was pouring that drink because my day had been so rough because I'd been kind of groggy from the wine I'd had the night before. And that's that cycle right there. But self-sabotage can come in a lot of different forms. It could be drinking or eating more than we want. It can be procrastination. It can be always moving, like go, 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 which is very much rewarded in our culture. And like not even knowing how to rest, not giving ourselves that opportunity. Those are all forms of self-sabotage. And in essence, they come in a couple different ways. They're kind of these single occurrence self-sabotage incidents, whereas like maybe I stay up late the night before a big meeting instead of preparing. It's an isolated event. Or I tell somebody off and I end up burning bridges, whatever that is. But what I'm going to be talking about more so in here are those patterned occurrences. And here's the watch out. The watch out is with these patterned occurrences of self-sabotage, they are a little more subtle because they blend into life. And these are things that show up like consistently staying up late and dragging the next day, or drinking more than we intend to over and over and over again, or saying that we need the office to be clean in order to sit down and do some work, or always being busy because that's often equated with being important in our society, and never making time for self-care, for journaling, for really those nurturing activities that will help us when we are trying to drink less. So our first activity, is everything clear on that one? Just pop in the chat. Just let me know. Give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know how things are going for you guys. Okay, all good. So what I want to encourage you to do is take out your pen and paper. This won't be a super long exercise, but I want you to choose one or two, just write down one or two examples of self-sabotage that you see in your own life, whether that be, an isolated, like here's a one-time, like a heavy hitter, or something that's repeated. If you want to choose drinking, that's great. If you want to choose something else, that's fine as well. And what I want you to do is, after you write those two down, I want you to think, like kind of drop into it and think about what is the root, the fear or the belief that's underneath that self-sabotaging behavior. So for example, maybe you stay up late. You consistently stay up late and don't have enough energy the next day. And then you're telling yourself, what are you telling yourself at bedtime? Maybe it is you're going through a divorce and you have a fear of being confronted by that empty bed. And so you're staying up late every night, whether that be drinking or not, staying up late every night because that's helping you avoid that empty bed. It's helping you avoid those feelings that are going to come up when you're thinking about the divorce. Just an example. Of course, I have no idea what's going on for you. Another example could be that you're staying up late because you have to get everything done because of your own fear of not enoughness. Like, I need to get all this done in order to be enough. That's the fear there. Is that clear? So I'm going to invite you to write down 2 examples of self-sabotage. Pick one and then take it a little bit deeper. Do a little bit of writing about what could be the fear underneath there. There's no right or wrong answer. Just trust that whatever comes up means something. Does everybody have something? As you're, pop something in the chat and just let me know that what's happening for you. The hope here is that as we can see what the fear is, then that allows you to kind of open up a little bit more to some self-compassion. And that's such a critical piece of this, because it would be wonderful. I would love to be able to say that once you see it, then it can just go away forever. But the truth is that that's not the case. What we're doing is we're creating some space for it, for sure. But it is a process. Again, there is a difference between the insight and the transformation. And that transformation becomes much more possible when you have self-compassion. When you can look at it and say, oh, well, no wonder I'm doing this. Well, that makes so much sense. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is try to, again, take this understanding from beyond just like a conscious understanding, a cognitive understanding, and make it mean something to you so that it can become actionable. Okay, so then once we have kind of the fears, once you have your 1 or 2 examples of self-sabotage, I want to talk specifically about what this wheel looks like. How it works is that first we have an initial negative thought or belief. So maybe it's, once I start drinking, I can't stop. And then with that thought, that generates an emotion of, maybe it's resigned. When I start drinking, I can't stop. I feel resigned. And at that point, it's like, or permissive or whatever it is, it's like, okay, well, I've already started. I might as well get my money's worth and finish the whole bottle. I might as well. There's a lot of talk like that, right? And so those actions are, I end up drinking certainly more than we would have if we had given ourselves permission to in the beginning. And so with that initial negative thought, once I start, I can't stop, then what ends up happening is that we feel terrible, not only physically, but also emotionally. And we make that, the fact that we drank and drank more than we intended to, a lot more potentially, we take that and use that as evidence to prove the initial thought. See, told ya, once I start, I can't stop. And these things build on top of each other. We're creating evidence to prove the initial thought. And when we're on this cycle, then it never, ever produces a positive result. So let me give you some other examples. So it kind of feeds on one another. Okay, once I have one, I can't stop. Then I'm feeling hungover the next day. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm angry with myself. There's a lot of negative self-talk, which, hello, I want to escape. And I know an easy way to escape. I can escape by drinking some more. So again, that's going to reinforce I'm still on that wheel. And then come to the third day, fourth day, whatever day it is, then it becomes this thought of, this is pointless. I can't possibly do this. So it started off as an initial one. It creates, each cycle of it creates more evidence that proves that we can't get off. And finally, it's like a throw up our arms. It's like, there's no point. Why even bother? I'm just going to keep on this wheel. It's like the devil I know. Or maybe it's, I can't handle the anxiety. I can't handle feeling so anxious when I've got an urge to drink. Go ahead and drink. Then the next day or whenever it is, it's like, then I've got anxiety. I'm hungover and I'm more anxious to begin with. Well, as I said before, I can't handle the anxiety. Now I've got even more. I'm hungover and anxious. So I'm going to go ahead and drink and get out of that. And then I use that as evidence to say, here you go. See, clearly, I can't do this. I'm a failure. Or if it's, let's say you're in a sales position or you're giving a presentation at work, whatever it is, and you have a thought, an initial negative thought of, they don't want to hear this from me. They're all busy. They don't want to hear this. And so you kind of break down, you kind of pull back on your messaging. Maybe you don't give the full, argument, the full presentation, whatever it is. Or maybe you don't do it at all. Maybe you just call in sick, whatever it is. And then what happens is they've never heard from you. So nobody's reaching out. Nobody's from work is telling you you're doing a great job. They have no idea. They haven't seen the work. And then again, it comes back down to this, there's no point. This isn't doing any good. They don't want to hear from me. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it gets worse and worse and worse the more evidence it's created. And it's kind of designed to do that, to create more evidence to prove the initial thought. Everybody tracking with me so far? Okay. And so, as I've said, the cycle produces evidence that presents as real. It feels very, very true. And I'm not discounting that at all. I want to help create some awareness to this downward spiral is a shame machine. And that shame in and of itself can become so derailing. Sometimes that can be more derailing than the actions themselves. Which kind of goes back to my point about helping to generate this feeling of self-compassion. Because shame and self-compassion have a hard time living with one another. Okay, so we've got a shame spiral here. We've got a shame machine, rather. Lovely. Let's get rid of that thing. Okay, so now, if everybody's clear on, there are a couple different loops to this. We're just going to go, we're not going to talk about the 18,000 different, however many times you're going to on the wheel, but I'd like to break this down into 3 cycles, let's say that. And I've given you a couple examples. I'm going to give you another example because I want to invite you to, now that you understand it, you guys are telling me in the chat that like this makes sense. This is true. This feels true for you. It resonates, all that stuff. We're trying to get a different level of learning here for you and make it more true for you. Like, let's start to dig into what's happening for you. So I'm going to invite you to take a couple minutes to write down at least one of your wheels of self-sabotage with at least 3 cycles. And here's what I mean by that. 3 cycles. First cycle could be, I can't resist snacking. I feel powerless. I go ahead and snack. I don't resist the urge. And then I end up like reinforcing that habit of snacking. Insert drinking in there, whatever it is. So that's one cycle. The second cycle could be, now my pants are tight. I'm frustrated. Then the negative self-talk starts coming in because I'm angry with myself because my pants are tight, because I can't resist snacking, builds on each other, right? I don't sit with the urges. I go ahead and snack. And guess what? The pants get tighter. Shocking, right? And so that's the second cycle. The third cycle is, oh shit, I'm a failure. I feel shame. I go ahead and eat more than I need, for sure, to make all that go away, to make that shame go away, and to get some dopamine, to get some sort of a little hit from there. And the result that I end up creating is I certainly don't make that shame go away. It's just adding to that shame. And I'm reinforcing that habit of snacking. I'm failing on my goal to stop snacking. Insert drinking, whatever you'd like to do. So I would encourage you, we're going to do this for, again, just for another minute or so. Write down for you, what are 3 cycles within your wheel of self-sabotage? And specifically, how has that wheel in and of itself created some unhelpful beliefs that weren't there before, being on the wheel? Maybe that's the shame. Maybe that's whatever that is for you. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. Just make that mean whatever you want that to mean. And I'll write that in the chat too. Write down yeah, what did we say? 3 cycles. Oh, okay, sorry. I just saw this. Actual cycles are levels or layers of self-sabotage. What I mean by is, let's say that the macro wheel is drinking, for example. The cycles within it could be, I can't resist drinking, and then feel powerless. I go ahead and drink. And then it's, I feel bad in the morning. So the second cycle could be, I'm angry with myself the next morning, telling myself I can't do this, whatever that is, feel frustrated. I want to escape all that negative self-talk with by drinking. Maybe the third one is, I can't do this. And which feels, there's a lot of shame, or feels powerless, or it's frustration or disappointed, whatever feeling that generates for you. Does that make sense? Okay, does everybody have at least a couple things written down? Or just let me know and I can wait before we go into any further. Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay. So now that we have some awareness of what the wheel is, what the different cycles are for you, let's talk about breaking the cycle or the pattern. If the wheel is not broken, then the habit just continues to reinforce itself. And that shame spiral is going on at the same time. So that's just kind of a nasty combination there. Believe me, I understand. And it's really easy to get mired in it. So how to break out of it? There are kind of two levels of breaking out of it. There's the inner work, and that is what we've just started to do here, which is creating awareness beyond just like, oh, Caroline's talking about this in generalities. What does it actually look like in my life? How can I spot this? And then, so again, with the inner work, we're going to kind of start to poke holes at it. So, what is that fear that's underneath there? Is there some not enoughness, the fear of not enoughness? Is there fear of loneliness? Is there fear of whatever that is? Start to look at that and start to understand what's happening there. Because again, it's not about this won't go away. I'm not going to promise you that this will go away and one's like magically at the end of the day. I would love that. If I could do that for you, I would do that for you, but I can't do that. I want to be honest. This is a process. And understanding what that fear is. So again, so we can start to dismantle it. And most importantly, so that you can start generating some self-compassion. Well, of course I'm doing this when I'm scared of this over here. That makes so much sense. Then the third piece, which also falls within that inner work portion, is having a discussion about resiliency and discomfort. Like, what is your own personal level or personal, this is going to come out wrong, but comfort level with discomfort? Like, what is your own relationship with discomfort? Because I want to tell you that in Western society, we are not very comfortable with discomfort. We want to avoid that like the plague. So what is your personal belief about discomfort? And then I want to maybe challenge you to think about, when was a time that you allowed yourself to be in discomfort, when stretching yourself towards something new, working towards a goal? Can you remember a time in your life that you did that? It's kind of tapping into the pieces within you that really can help you feel resourced enough to do this. Any questions on the inner work? Okay, so that's all clear. So the outer work is identifying a baby action step that you can take, that you can commit to help just start breaking the cycle. I said a baby action step. It doesn't have to be, it's all done. It's like, it's never going to happen again. Nobody's lying to anybody here. In order to break that, get off that wheel, it starts with little steps, and that's fine. No myth of perfection. That will just derail you and everybody else immediately, because it's not possible. So it's like setting ourselves up for failure. So in thinking about that, we've now created awareness to what's going on for you and how it's showing up in your life. What is a baby action step that you could take the next time you see it? Note that it will be uncomfortable at first. And that's part of change. Just think about that for a minute. What is a baby action step that you can take in order to get off the wheel? You guys have some ideas? Maybe it's post in the group when it comes up. Maybe it's go for a walk, have a cup of tea, journal, do yoga, paint, make dinner. I don't know. Anything you want. As you commit to that baby action step, that's part of the outer work, the actions that will actually make it. Again, I'm going to use this analogy again. It's like it's taking it from the cognitive understanding into making it actionable, so that you can do it with your hands, so then eventually you will know it by heart. With drinking, delay it longer and longer. Okay, now how specifically are you going to delay it? What are you going to do? Delay the time I will drink or go to the store. Okay. What does delay look like? Is it just saying no, 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 no? Are you going to do something else? And if, again, we're just looking for a baby action step, and that could be totally perfect right here. That feels like a good place to commit to. I want to invite you to look at that. Look what you've committed to. Look at the baby action step that you identified. Think about it for a minute. Kind of put your hand on your heart. And almost like imagine that you're kind of sealing in that commitment. I'm going to delay the time I'll drink or go to the store. Like, feel that. Okay, replace the drink with alcohol-free drink. Okay, good, good. Now that you have a plan in place and you've kind of done that internal commitment to the outer work, to the actions, then it's just a matter of it's kind of rinse and repeat. The next day, you'll look back at it and say, okay, what worked? What didn't work? How can I make it stronger? What can I do differently next time? Start, stop, and continue is what we used to do all the time in corporate. What do I want to continue? What do I want to stop? What do I want to start doing? Maybe I need to stock more alcohol-free drinks. Maybe I need to, maybe I notice that I am, this loneliness thing comes up a lot. So I'm avoiding the loneliness temporarily with the drinking, but a true way to solve for loneliness is connection. Maybe I need to pick up the phone and call my sister, whatever it is, That's what I mean by going to those different levels. It's like helping to understand, what else can I be doing here? So I do have a little bit of time if either of you want to come on camera and get some coaching. I'm happy to do that. If you'd rather stay anonymous, that's all good too. While you're thinking about that, I don't see any hands up. So, okay, we'll go with this. I will go ahead and kind of bring ourselves to, unless you guys have any questions, if you want to pop them in the chat, that's great. Again, I want to come back to this idea that, we've all been to training classes where we've been all fired up for the day or a couple days, and then all of a sudden we forget. It happens totally. And again, I'm going to go back to this, where I started. There's a difference between the insight and the transformation. We can get the insight, we can get the cognitive understanding, and yet not be doing it. And that when we're in that space, it feels very frustrating and very confusing. You are not alone. They're not at all. So we've just kind of, hopefully I've given you some new things to think about, not only some deeper understanding of what that wheel of self-sabotage is, but how to get off of it, how you can start to get yourself off of that. And also managing expectations regarding it won't just go away. It will go away for sure. But it's like, it's kind of, I always say it's like the day in, day out, very unsexy kind of daily activities that make the difference, that allow that transformation. So if this is something that you would like some additional support with, and you're interested in taking this deeper, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. If I could support you at all in that, I'm happy to talk to you about that. So I'll include that information for you. I will also include some information about a toolkit that I've put together about cravings. So I've included kind of the hits. I don't know. I've put together all the tools that I used on how to manage cravings, both in the short term and the longer term. So I will include that link when I post this recording. So that's kind of what I have here for you today. Does you guys have anything else that you want to talk through? Okay. Well, I will thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And good luck. Let me know how I can support you. Take care.